Welcome to Kid Missing TV in your June preview. Okay, I have a problem. I cannot find the clipboard notebook that I had my list in. I can't find it. So, wrapped in here. I can only give you the 5 that I have written. I apologize. So I'll give them to you in order. Tomorrow, to start the month, will be Patricia Kathleen McGlone, who was the Midtown Jane Doe, also known as Precious Doe, one of a few Precious Does. And still looking. She was identified in April of 2024. Hold on, I gotta change your battery. Even though she's been identified, her killer has not. So, she was just 16 years old. And she was killed and put where she was put in that basement back in 1969. But we'll get into that. The next case will be that of John Zira, who was a 14-year-old boy in 1976 when he left his study hall at Franklin High School and disappeared and has never been seen. Oh, wait a minute. And that was in Wisconsin. And his body was found. It's very sad. There's a really good timeline by Greg Borowski at the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel that I got my information from. Oops. That's to be filed. That's kind of funny that ended up in the middle of there. Case number 3 will be that. Oh, I guess I got 4 cases here. Of a child found in a planter box in 2015. Actually, his bones were found in 2 planter boxes. They do have a possible identification, but they need to do DNA. You would think the DNA would have come back by now, but and the 4th case is that of Ramona Brown, who went missing from New Orleans, Louisiana on March 6, 1984, at 3 o'clock in the morning. Ramona was only 3 years old. There was a fire at her home, but she was not. Well, she was there, but she wasn't there. That makes sense. What do you call it? What the heck is going on? Oh. I was wondering why I had this like this. Okay. There we go. Now it's back in order. It's kind of like the Sutter children. Although in this case, investigators say she absolutely was not inside the house. They found the skeletal remains of a cat. If you're going to find, we're going to say on average a 7 to 14 pound animal, you're going to find a 3-year-old. Which probably weighs double what that animal weighs. Just saying. Even my cat that weighed 26 pounds, if you found him, you'd find a child, because his bones were still smaller than that of a 3-year-old child, even though he was hefty. So, yeah, they do not believe that she was in there. Even her sister said no. Everybody in the neighborhood was trying to help. And this couple, they were an older couple. And what made them stand out to her at that time, especially in New Orleans, was that the man was white and the woman was black. Didn't see too many interracial couples back then. This was 1963, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My brain is... It was 1984, but still. It would have been somewhat unusual in the South to see an interracial couple. So it stood out to her. And she said they offered to take her and take care of her while things were a little crazy, and they never came back with her. So she was abducted by an interracial couple in an older vehicle that she described as having wings. That would be like a 1950s car. Maybe early 60s. I'm so channeling my dad for that. I looked it up, but I'm like, Dad, you know, because my dad would have known exactly the year span of when the cars had the big wings on the back. Like the Batmobile. They actually had cars like that. The wings were shorter at one time and longer at another time. Which would have stood out in, that's why I was thinking it was in the 60s, which surely would have stood out in 1984. Especially to a 6-year-old little girl. It would have been unique, you know. It's not something she would have forgotten. So I feel like her statement is valid. It's true. And we need to figure out who this couple was. And why would they take such a risk? A, taking the child from a child who could clearly talk and identify them. B, taking the child in such a unique vehicle. And C, taking the child as a unique couple. In 1984, the only interracial couple I knew about was on the Jeffersons, for goodness sakes. So, seriously, I never saw interracial couples. Hardly saw black people where I live. And I'm not prejudiced. I'm just telling you that where I live, and I know in New Orleans, there are a lot more African American people. In fact, this family, Ramona's family, was African American. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I try to do cases like that of African American, Hispanic, Asian, all of those types of cases because they don't, and boys, all of those types of cases because they don't get the kind of coverage, adult males, the kind of coverage that cases of pretty blonde white females. So that was one of my goals when I started doing this, was to do the minorities. But even for an African American girl, to see an African American woman with a white man, and they were an older couple, of course, to a 6-year-old, what's an older couple? I'm sure she can look back now at her age. See, 1984, she was 6. I was 10. I'm 4 years older than her. So she's... I'm 46 this year. I'm sure at 46 she can look back and say maybe they weren't so old. But she's still saying they were pretty old. Like, I look back at people I thought were old. Like, I thought my teacher in 3rd grade was an old woman. If you'd asked me, I would have said she was like 80 years old. She wasn't. I was 8. You know, she wasn't old. She was probably in her 50s at the time. She just recently died at almost 90. So, yeah, she wasn't old. I just thought she was. So, looking back on it, I know why, because she had that curly hair and it was kind of white. And that made her look older. But it made perfect sense that she couldn't have been very old because her mother died in her 90s, being hit by a car in her own driveway. Lovely, lovely world we live in. She was like shoveling at the end of her driveway, which she had no business shoveling at 90-something years old. But anyway, and somebody hit her. Yeah, lovely world we live in. Like I said, these cases I think are going to be interesting. And I love the way that the Sentinel did the timeline for the Zira case. That's going to be so helpful when we delve into it. So those are the ones I have written so far. I've got to find that notebook to find the rest of the list and finish the list of does, because I've only got one doe. So I've literally got Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday. Which is not good. So I am going to film Patricia McGlone and make sure I get that up tomorrow, because I do have a meeting at the Historical Society. So please subscribe if you are new. What was I going to say? Because we're trying to get to 500 on here by August 4th, my 50th birthday. And on the other channel to 200 by July 4th. So please subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye, guys. God bless you and keep you. I smile because I love doing this. I love getting the word out there. I know it's hard for people to understand why you would smile. And I always try to smile at the end of a video. I think that's important. And I'm just naturally a smiley person. So when things upset me or make me nervous, sometimes I giggle. It's just who I am. I just wanted to explain that. A lot of true crimers, you'll see them and they're very serious. And their cadence is very different than mine. Other true crime YouTubers, and you know, there are reasons why. You know, first off, my emotions are different in that, yeah, sometimes I do get very upset, but I don't have that very serious cadence when I speak. Like I said, sometimes I chuckle. If I get nervous, you know, or upset, and I have been, and in case you guys didn't know this, I am diagnosed as autistic, mildly autistic. So I have trouble with tone of voice, my own and other people's. I have trouble knowing other people's, understanding other people's expressions and body language. So it's hard for me. So please forgive me for my cadence and the way that I may act or speak during cases. It does not mean I do not care. I care deeply. In fact, when Heaven Lachey Ross' body was found, I had followed her from day one. I adopted her on Project Jason and I still have the pen for Adopt a Missing Child. And when her remains were found, I was in tears typing the update on my message board. And I said to my mother, I said, will this ever get easier? She said, I hope not. She's right. You know, I may not cry on here, but I do cry. Like I said, I was crying when I was writing that update. It's never going to be easy to tell you the skeletal remains of a 10-year-old child were found under an abandoned house with her little backpack, you know, which is what happened in that case. And it shouldn't be. But like I said, don't take how I do it as offensive. Understand that my neurological disorder, of which I have two because I also have cerebral palsy, makes it so that I may not seem to others appropriate always. So I just wanted to sort of explain that to you guys. You can check out more information on that on my other channel, which I will leave in the cards if you're interested in that, about my diagnosis, how I got it. I'll actually just leave the whole playlist, my medical and disability playlist, so that you can peruse the playlist and decide what you'd like to watch. And it's all there. So, not only that, I don't want to be every other true crime YouTuber. That's why I like all different ones. And they all have different deliveries. You know, if you ask me who my favorite is, it's going to be Georgia Marie. By a mile. Although I say that, but I love Gabulosis. I like Annie Elise a lot. Some of her videos are very long and I do not have the attention span for it. That's me. Who was the other one that I really like? I like Brooke McKenna. Shoot, there's one more that I like. Oh, Danielle Kirsty. Some of her videos are a little long too. And Bailey Sarian. So that's my top, whatever number of ones that was. That's my top list. So check them out. I'll try to do at blah 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 and leave some of their links in the description because I think they're all great. Like when you leave a link in the description, all you have to do is at Bailey Sarian, at Danielle Kirsty, at, you know, and it will turn it blue and it will be a link directly to the channel. So I'm going to do that. And like I said, I will put a link to my playlist on my other channel explaining me and why I'm the way I am. And thank you for those of you who are, regulars who accept me exactly the way I am. I appreciate that so much. God bless you and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye, guys.